I've known you long enough to know when you're bluffing. I'm all in. Whatever, they're just bottle caps. Not the end of the world. I think we're gonna be here a while, so why don't we talk about your recent brush with fame? If you consider yourself a Fallout fan but you've never played the originals, then I shame you. Shame. These turn-based isometric RPGs are absolutely amazing. They focus on consequence of action. Decisions that the players make can change the outcome of the entire game. You could be a smooth-talking philanthropist or a villainous brute. Choose to team up with gangs or raiders, or help the local law enforcers. The choice is yours. And forget what you think you know, because before there was a Vault 101, there was the legendary Vault 13. These games introduced us to everyone's favorite mascot, Vault Boy. Even the instruction manual was incredible. Just under 100 pages, this tome pretends to be the product of your vault, and it's filled with survival tips and recipes. This first game has such a wide open world to explore, and so many hidden stories and quests, it's hard for us to focus. Lucky for us, Interplay is looking out for us. They've implemented a time limit in your first quest in this universe. You have exactly 150 days to get your vault a new water purification chip. Failing that, it's game over. The time restriction keeps you focused and on track. You have plenty of time to explore and even waste a bit of time, all the while with the lingering knowledge that you will need to find this chip. While searching, you learn that people have been mutated into ghouls. Even worse, some are transformed into hulking brutes. And apparently there's a factory creating a mutant army led by a powerful master. The second game picks up where the first left off. The master of the mutants is destroyed. The vault dweller that saved the world has started his own village, and 80 years have passed. And you play a descendant of this hero, destined to save your village. You head out in search of a Garden of Eden creation kit, a GEC. This will help your dying village in terraforming the area. Upon this journey, you learn of the Enclave, an elite faction of the United States government, bent on the destruction of any mutations in this new world. In both games, the pacing is great, and the world feels natural and immersive, which is pretty impressive considering the games are 90s computer games that can be installed with a minimum of 4 megabytes. That said, these games are far from perfect. They suffer from many game-breaking glitches and crash unexpectedly from time to time. Still, I hold these two games as my favorite computer games from my childhood. And then Fallout 3. I was so excited for this game. 3D graphics, new stories, you start in prison, and there's so many options for... I'm sorry, what? You don't know what I'm talking about? Oh, you think I meant Bethesda's Fallout 3. Okay, here, let me explain. Interplay had a small company creating CRPGs called Black Isle Studios. They made the renowned Baldur's Gate series, as well as Planescape Torment and Fallout. They were working on a third Fallout game and were nearly complete their Fallout 3, when Interplay, running into a serious financial crisis, laid off the entire Black Isle staff and canceled their projects, Fallout 3 and Baldur's Gate 3, The Black Hound. So in swooped Bethesda, they bought the rights to the single-player Fallout, and off they went to creating the 2008 Game of the Year. And I was pumped. I just wanted a Fallout 3 at this point. So we plugged in our game, and... oh.
It's just something you could use.
What's this? I'm a baby.
Come on over here, son.
At least Liam Neeson's my dad.
Walk to daddy.
Oh, everybody hates me now. This intro was bullshit. It took too long to explain menial things. It was half there to be a character builder and half to show you the consequence of action. But there aren't any real consequences. It's all arbitrary. The only thing it really does is allow you to familiarize yourself with this asininely confusing vault layout. Fallout 3 isn't a terrible game. It's a terrible Fallout. And I'm not saying this because I adore the original series and have seen it bastardized by a bigwig company. I say this because it has lost the gestalt of the original games. Fallout at its core is an RPG, and Bethesda pushed it into a completely different realm. Now, I'm not opposed to big changes, and sure it still has RPG elements to it, but the combat feels wrong. Having a percentage to hit in a first-person shooter is just frustrating, and the VAT system is completely ruined for melee players. The game pretty much forces a gun into your hand. On top of that, it felt like they had to prove to old fans that this was a Fallout game. Unfortunately, all of their references felt like a 4-year-old child screaming for attention. Look at me! I'm Fallout! I have Harold and Dogmeat! Get the gack! It insults our intelligence by forcing references on you without a degree of subtlety. Harold shows up in the game in an obscure location that feels like it was just crammed in at the last second. It's detached from the rest of the game and feels superfluous. To top that all off, Harold talks infuriatingly slow and literally repeats jokes from Fallout 2. And he's a fucking tree! Dogmeat shows up in the game in a similar fashion to Fallout 1, but he isn't nearly as helpful. I had him with me until one fight, and I realized he was going to die. After that, I decided to send him back to the vault and wait for me there. And he friggin' died on his way there! Yay! At least they have other similarities to Fallout, like super mutants and the Brotherhood of Steel. Rad scorpions and ghouls and... Wait, what the hell is that? Why are you running at me?
Lenny, can ghouls run?
What the hell is this? 28 days later? Am I legend? What's going on? At least they kept the classic feel alive of having bullshit glitches in the game. Thanks, Bethesda. My only other major gripe with it is the fact that it's pretty much the same as Fallout 1 and 2. In fact, it's like a mashup between the two of them. Fallout 1, you need to get a water purification chip. In Fallout 2, you have to get a GEC and then stop the Enclave from eradicating all mutant life. Fallout 3, you have to get a GEC to purify the water of the wasteland and then stop the Enclave from eradicating all mutated life. And yeah, apparently the Enclave's back. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for these games. Then this little gem came out. I have vague memories of playing this when it came out, but I wasn't too impressed. But then again, I sort of pretend my experiences with these newer Fallouts are a lot worse than they actually are. So I started playing this one again, but I had a big chip on my shoulder. And that chip fell off quick. What was I thinking? Playing Fallout 3 and New Vegas back to back really puts the games in perspective. This game had all the feel of a Fallout game in a 3D world. The combat was smoother, but not perfect, but it felt good. The skills were condensed, and the gameplay was vastly improved thanks to the addition of hardcore mode. This option should be mandatory. It brings a perfect balance to this game. You need to eat, sleep, drink, watch your health. It makes this game feel natural. It's so easy in these games to feel like a god among the inhabitants that this really knocks it back a bit. And if the game is still too difficult for you, you can easily switch the difficulty settings to easy. But hardcore mode is the only way to experience this game. Everything has weight to it, figuratively and literally. Finding a piece of fruit in the desert could mean your survival. And a deadly battle in the wasteland could have you limping back to the nearest town, praying that a raider band doesn't pop out and take you out. Not only was the gameplay improved, but the interactions across the wasteland were as well. The inhabitants make references to the past games without treating us like simpletons. For example, an inhabitant of a small town claims she flew a vertibird for the Enclave years ago. She only crashed one outside of a small town named Calumet, but she managed to walk away. In Fallout 2, this mentioned vertibird can be found. It feels natural and it's not forced. The subtlety in this is golden, and if you played the old games, you can't help but smile at the reference. I found others too. Some ganger claimed that he was in a gang in the Hub, which is an important city in Fallout 1. And then there's also Marcus, the super mutant, who is an NPC companion from Fallout 2. But why does this Fallout feel so much better than Fallout 3? The answer lies in the first 10 seconds of turning the game on. Obsidian Entertainment. When the team from Black Isle was laid off, many of the crew reformed under a new name, Obsidian Entertainment. Fergus Urquhart, the CEO, was also the game director of the original Fallouts. He was on the team working on the cancelled Fallout 3, and apparently many of the concepts and story elements from the cancelled game were revived in New Vegas, such as the NCR and Brotherhood of Steel War, Caesar's Legion, and the fight for Hoover Dam. If you're an old fan of the Fallout series, or you want to get into them, I urge you to try New Vegas. Despite its bugs, it is the best true Fallout experience since the originals. As for Fallout 4, well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm pretty excited for it, and I want to see how Bethesda rehandles the series. I will most likely be doing a first impressions video when I get my hands on a copy, but to be honest, I'm going to play the shit out of it. I'm going to enjoy it while I feel like I'm cheating on my girlfriend the whole time. Then afterwards, I'm going to pretend like I've never heard of it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got to check my water purification system. Gonna have to get a new one.
James wandered into the wasteland and was never heard from again. Tara continued posting videos on the ThirstyKrakenTavern, never bothered by James's disappearance. Radiation in the water continued to change her hair from day to day. Communities were built on the internet for survival. They continue to thrive to this day. As for the war that caused the apocalypse, nobody truly knows how it started, but it probably started the same as every war, because war never changes.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for Tara's next video in 2 weeks. Also, do me a favor, check out these other channels. These guys are great, and they are all about video games. Talk about relatable. The links are in the description.
Jimmy! Little Jimmy! My, how you're grown up!